Due to the ignorance of our host, parental discretion is advised.
Welcome back to How Did It Get So Good? My guest today. Hey, change the time, right?
Yeah.
Did they change the time?
Sometime.
They did.
I'll tell you what happened to me yesterday. First of all, Heidi McNulty,
Yes.
right? Mr. Tata Coach,
Yeah, Rob Eastman.
Rob Eastman. This is what happened to me yesterday. I recorded with my best friend last episode, and I told him, I said, hey, the more time, because obviously I don't know why I keep saying my episodes drop, or we upload them on, upload them on Mondays, right? So I say, the more time you give me to edit, the better. He's like, let's do it Friday. I was like, so then I get all together on Friday, and I'm editing 2 cameras or whatever, and then my computer's just not cooperating. And I was like, and I knew I had to, go to bed because I got to wake up at 5. Well, needless to say, I was like until 1:30 editing last night. So I was like,
Which then turned into 2:30.
when it turned, 2:30 exactly. But anyway, thank you guys for coming.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us.
What do you guys think of this studio? Huh?
Love
It's
it.
cute.
Right?
Love it.
You know what's funny is like we took the couches, and they're like right out here, like right around this, and everybody that does the dancing and stuff, they just sit there. Like that's where they change their shoes on or whatever. But anyway, how was the drive? Was it good?
Yeah,
Traffic?
Surprisingly not bad.
Yeah?
It was kind of, traffic time, but it wasn't bad at all.
That's what happened to me too. I was
straight
coming like
from
right
the gym.
around. Yeah,
We'll take it.
yeah. I was coming like right around 5-ish. I think I've been here for like an hour, and I was like, oh, it's gonna be crazy, and like nothing. And I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if today is like a bank holiday or something.
Well, I don't get those.
Right?
Working construction.
Yeah, everybody called in late. Like, oh, man, I'm sick.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't get that hour of sleep.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's
It's
right.
I saw a
case of the
meme.
Mondays.
I still go ahead.
There was a meme that said that they should change the time on Mondays at 4 o'clock. So this turns to 5 o'clock, and that'd be a lot better.
I thought they were. Aren't they like in the plans of not doing this anymore?
Yeah.
Well,
They-
from my understanding, they talk about getting rid of it every election year, and they never have.
And it's crazy that it's surrounded around consumers. Mm-hmm. That's why they do it for business. And I was like, I don't know how that makes sense, because I was asking why they do it. Some places don't do it.
Yeah.
It originally started for farming, actually. They did it for farmers so that farmers had more daylight, and that's why some states do it and some states don't, because the daylight in those states weren't needed for farming.
Yeah.
But then it's kind of stayed that way for business purposes.
Also, sign me up for the 4-day week.
Right?
Right?
Yeah.
Sign me
A
up.
lot of places are doing that.
Yeah. And I guess it works for everybody. They say
Less sick days, more commitment.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, construction is like, oh, tomorrow's Sunday. It's gonna be sunny. Let's just
Like, we're going to do 410s.
let's get shit done.
We're going to do 410s. Wait,
310s right after that, and basically don't plan anything for the next 2 years.
Dude,
We just got a new job.
You know what's funny is that so doing construction, a lot of what we do is paving, is asphalt. The guys that are doing the asphalt, because some of them get to work, especially the guys that have been there for a while, for like, 5, 10, 15 years, they get to be on these federal jobs, right? Mm-hmm. And they're working 12, 13, 14 hours a day for the entire season. Mm-hmm. So when the snow comes, then they're like, I want to go and blow my money in Mexico. And they told me how much they made, like a year. And it's like, oh, listen, I was in a federal job and I worked this many hours, and this is how much I made. My jaw just dropped.
yeah.
I was like,
Well, prevailing wage jobs, anything over 8 hours in a day is mandatory overtime.
yeah.
So they're getting 4 hours of overtime each day, even if they don't work more than 40 hours.
And on top of that, it's federal job. So it's
Yeah.
a lot more money than what they make an hour, right?
Yeah.
So it's, and if you're an operator, kill it.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't know this, on the construction side of things, the guy that runs the roller makes more money than the guy that runs the traco, like the excavator. I may be wrong. I mean, I might have to double check that, but I think that's what it is. Because I remember when they told me, I was like I've been doing the excavator for years, and you're telling me all I have to do is go back and forth.
Yeah, it's so weird in those. I worked on the refineries, and being a hole watch, where you got to make sure the dude doesn't blow up inside of the tank and all that. It's like an extra $50 an hour. They aren't doing nothing. They're out there on their phone playing games. I'm hooked into fresh air, into skid steer inside of the tank. Just like, man, where's my pay? It's like, that's more important out there.
A few years ago, I was working for a subcontractor company for the gas company. So we were doing like the actual steel pipes, right? The guys you got to weld together. And we were working at night, and because we were going across this road here in Woods Cross. And I was digging. We got like the light plants and everything, right? And then as I'm digging, I feel something, and I'm like, oh, there's something there. And so we go, my spotter back then had like the light, and we're looking. It's like, he says, oh, it's a piece of asphalt. It's a piece of asphalt just fell in there. I go, okay. And so then I keep going, and obviously when you dig for so long, that you kind of learn how to feel things.
For it, yeah.
So you start going, and I was doing this. And I go, no, there's something there. And I said, let's just stop work. Let's bring the vac truck and see what we got. So we stop. Obviously, there's not a lot of production because it's, you got to be safe, right?
Yeah.
So then they bring the vac truck. In like 20 minutes, they exposed a 14-inch pipe that was feeding the refinery.
Oh. Good thing you stopped.
Like, if I would have hit that, I would have incinerated every single one of us.
Oh my gosh.
And everybody in like 4 blocks.
Yeah. I don't think people understand how deadly. So I used to work for a company called Veolia that when we would dig on the refinery, we'd use water to blow in a vacuum truck and just suck these massive holes out. And you hear how much gas and flammable fluids are running through those a second. You're just like, dude, it could.
That's
super
why it pays
dangerous.
so much.
Oh yeah,
because they might not have to pay you at all.
10-hour day, you work 3 hours.
I when I was working for that company, the training videos, it's all about people burning, houses burning, equipment burning.
Yeah,
it's just. Oh, they have like, all of a sudden they have like a camera from a house or whatever, and there's a far away, they're digging, and then they find a gas, but all you see is poof, and it just blows up.
Yeah.
Like, should I be making more money?
Yeah.
The answer is yes.
Yeah, always.
And a life insurance policy.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I still don't understand how the federal stuff works, because I guess it has to do with your insurance. Like if you're paying insurance, then they pay you less.
Yeah, so I used to own
Wait,
a
you do know about
construction
this?
company. Yeah, so I used to own a
knew it.
construction company, and it's called Fringe.
Yeah.
So it's the equivalent to like vacation time and medical insurance. And if your company doesn't provide that, they have to pay you X amount of dollars in fringe benefits. If your company does provide that, then they can quantify how much that costs them. And if that's less than the fringe, they have to pay the difference in fringe.
See why I married her?
Yeah, that's why I was married, because that's why I don't know these things. Because usually back when I was married, I was in my ex-wife's insurance, so I would get all the perks, right? But now it's like, I don't know what that means. I have no idea. I went today into the office, and I'm talking to our assistant, and I'm like, hey, and I'm like asking him like insurance questions, and she's like, you just barely getting that done? I'm like, yeah.
How long have you worked there?
Well, no, because you have to renew it every year.
Oh, okay. So it's a renewal.
Basically since like December.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, hey, but I never get sick, which is cool.
Yeah.
I never get sick. Yeah. I never get sick.
Me either. Last year it cost me $10K.
Really?
Yeah,
it was a terrible year.
He had this high deductible health insurance plan where it doesn't really cost that much, but it doesn't cover anything for the first $8,000. So he ended up having to go to the ER. And it cost so much, and
what'd you get?
I'll let him tell that story. I broke his dick.
Hey, fitting for this podcast. That's what I'm talking about. Did you really?
I thought it was. Yeah, it did a pop and go, and I was sitting. I'm like, it's gonna be okay. And then
show me on the floor. What are you guys were doing?
Right?
No, it like popped, and then we're looking it up online, and you literally can break your dick.
Yeah.
Like there's a blood vessel in there that you can break, and if you break it, it causes permanent erectile dysfunction.
So I'm Googling the side effects. I'm like, babe, I think we kind of gotta go and get in there, and we're trying to explain it. She calls the doctor.
Oh my God,
and we're laughing.
Your dick is over.
I called the doctor and I was like laughing like a 10-year-old kid talking about sex, and I was like, we broke his dick. Like, does he need to go to the doctor? And we're like laughing.
Listen, doc, I just married this guy. If he
I
can,
know. I told him, I'm like, this is not a prank call. Like, this is just really awkward. Like, I've never thought I'd be calling the doctor for this.
Yeah. So CT scan. What do they call that?
Ultrasound.
Thing? Ultrasound, and 5 docs later. I'm like, you don't need this many doctors coming here and check this out. Like,
I was like, I'm gonna charge you for
like,
seeing my dick.
How many people need to hold it today?
so you heard it first. Rob can get hard.
No, we went to the hospital. We're good.
Yeah. So yeah, that the not getting sick thing, it backfired.
Yeah. I've said this story a couple of times. I've sent my ex-wife to the hospital with a ruptured ovary.
Oh, really?
Getting after it.
Yeah. And it's so funny because the doctor was like this little...
Your ovaries are in there.
I know. That's what's weird. That's what's weird. But I just found a broomstick and I was like, hey, we're having fun with this. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh, my God.
I'm just kidding.
Bangarang.
No, just kidding. But the doctor she was like this little tiny Jewish doctor. He just came up and he was like, is this your husband? She was like, yeah, it's my husband. And then he like closed the door. He's like, are you guys into like some freaky kind of shit? And we're like, I don't like, what do you mean? For us, it's normal shit. What are you talking about? And I did it. They took like 10 cc's of blood out of her.
Wow.
Like it was like filled up with blood.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You really fucked her.
Now, I don't, yeah, fucked her up too. And I'll tell you what, obviously it happened because we were having sex. Not necessarily that I caused it. I probably just didn't help. But I told her, I will tell that story till the fucking day I die. Because that's going to give me street cred. But yours was totally opposite. Yours was like embarrassing.
Yeah, it was.
He was so embarrassed.
And then they come back, you're fine. It's like, don't send me the bill then. Like, I learned my lesson.
Wait, how long ago was this?
Oh, year.
No, it
6
wasn't that
months?
long ago. It was maybe like 6 months ago.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was before we got married, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So everything's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
They
Let me
said
see.
it was fine, and then we're like, fuck, now we gotta pay this $7,000 hospital bill for no reason. What a waste.
Expensive dick.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, gold plated now.
It's definitely the most we've ever paid for sex, right?
Oh, crazy. Yeah. That's more,
But, yeah,
big bill.
I just wanted to make sure that would be a.
Is your dick tattoo?
Yeah.
No,
knew
it's
it.
It
not.
says USA and then when
It's gonna be-
yeah.
United States of America with the whole.
It's gonna be
Decoration.
tattooed Heidi McNulty.
You should get the flag and just
That's
make it
mine.
waving it.
Hey, flexing.
Well, this has nothing to do with what we're going to talk about. But yeah, I just figured we'd break the ice a little bit. This is the first time I have you as a guest.
Yes.
So that's kind of cool.
Thank you.
I've seen you with that guy that does the radio. I refuse to say his name.
Oh.
Yeah, he gets a lot of credit already. He's like, nah, we don't need more.
Oh, we love him.
I know. I love him. I love him. I missed the fights this weekend. It was a good card.
Yeah.
And I'm always there with him.
Oh, okay.
And it so happened that back in...
Which one? Because there's two names that...
I was talking about Dre.
Oh, okay.
Ray.
I was going to say, Fonzie has the podcast too, so...
Yeah.
Oh.
No, he's talking radio.
Oh, okay.
92.
Yeah. So every fight, every UFC, we get together at the bar and we have some good
What
food.
bar?
A bar named Sue.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
he
okay.
invited
Oh, yeah,
us.
he
Shit.
told
Oh,
you.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. We should
I just didn't know because I know you're clean, right?
Yeah.
But can you even? That was actually one of my questions. Can you do that? Can you go or
Yeah.
you
Oh, yeah.
But you rather not?
Now, I think at the start, you're so heavily attached to that lifestyle that it's just not ideal. They say you sit in the barbershop long enough, you're bound to get your hair cut.
Yeah. Okay.
So it took me a long time. I couldn't even have an O'Doul's for like 7 years. It would just spark something in my soul. But now it's all good.
It's fun, and the food is awesome.
I've never been there, but I've heard it's a good place.
We're there every single UFC card.
We'll have to go next time.
For sure.
The only thing that I missed, I was kind of bummed out because it was like one of the biggest cards, but my I talked about it here a few episodes ago. I had a friend that back in November, I think, had he was in a big car accident. Like he got ejected from his truck.
Oh my gosh.
And we almost lost him. Oh. And long story short, after all the work that the doctors did and everything, he got to go home. And this last weekend was his birthday and like a welcome home kind of party. So we all went there. So I figured it was a nice excuse or a good excuse to miss the fights. But
yeah,
we were there. But he's
doing good.
He's doing good, but there's parts where you see that he's not himself yet. Yeah. Right?
Like brain trauma stuff.
Yeah, he had a big brain trauma. He has a gouge missing, like a chunk missing in his head.
Where does he live?
Grantsville.
Okay. I was gonna say if he needs some PT, you'll open the doors of the gym and get him feeling good again.
Yeah, we're just happy we have him, right? When he first happened, I went to the hospital and I met with his kids and his wife, and the first thing they asked me is like, "You want to go see him?" And I was like, "I don't think so." And it wasn't because I was afraid or anything. It was something inside of me told me I don't want to see him at his worst. Mm-hmm. And I know somehow he's still here. Mm-hmm. So I'd rather just give him a little, which by the time I saw him, he wasn't that much better, right? He was still out, because he was out for like 2 or 3 months.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and
they
surgeries.
put him in a coma and stuff.
Yeah, he had a one lung collapse, busted his knee, had a big old gouge here.
Oh, poor guy.
Just broke his shoulder, I think, his arm.
The pelvis usually happens in there. That's a bad one.
Yeah.
But brain trauma is tough. I had a TBI back in 2007, and it was like 2 years of like working my brain out to remember a phone number.
Yeah. Yeah, there was there's been a couple of times where when they moved them out of the U, they brought him into the what is it called? Whatever it's called, Murray.
ICU.
Murray.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So they brought him there, and a point in time I will go in, and he's like, oh, like he would recognize me, which I was like, oh, thank God.
Oh,
he
yeah.
recognizes me, right? But he was like, hey, but then all of a sudden he would say, oh, no, you know who? And then it was like, what's his name? And then I started mentioning like every single one of our friends, and he's like, no, and I go, so-and-so, and he goes, nope, the other guy. What's the other guy's name? And I like name everybody, and I go, Angel, and he goes, yeah. I'm like, that's me, dude. yeah, you. So then there's like little glitches of like, okay, there's work that needs to be done, but
Rob likes to use his TBI as an excuse to conveniently not remember things. You ask him about an ex, and he's like, I don't really remember.
That's a good one.
Convenient.
My memory is just from the day I met you on. I don't know, baby.
Convenient.
You'll have to ask somebody else.
Chris, how you guys been?
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
How's the book tour?
So it hasn't started yet. It launches on March 28th, so just in a few weeks, and getting excited for that. And it's been a busy year. So I had an app launching that's like a genealogy kind of meets social media. Okay. Kind of like a digital scrapbook. It's called Lumikin. And we launched that. We've launched the Village Effect, which is our mental health side of the gym. We launched the gym January 1st. Yeah. And then my book launches March 28th, and so it's been
crazy.
A busy year.
We got married on the 10th of September, launched my book on the 27th, moved my gym out from Centerville to West Jordan. 2 months of insane cleanup because we moved into an old cabinet shop, and I don't know if anybody's ever been in that or a granite shop with a paint booth. Ugh. Dude, it was insane.
So much dust.
It went from 2,500 square feet to 6,000 square feet, new community, marketing, all that. Then January hit. Then one of my teenagers committed suicide. My niece died of fentanyl. Then another kid just got murdered. Like, we've just had the most insane, and then all of her stuff getting the books and apps and all these things, and it's just like, man, we're getting tested.
We are definitely getting tested.
Like in our first year of marriage, we've been through some shit, and so
that's tough.
But we've done good. I mean, we like definitely go through it together, which is good.
Yeah.
I think.
I feel like I feel like people that have all these kind of stuff being thrown at them, it's because something out there knows that they can't do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and I also think, like, before, I don't know if you even know my story. So I was married for 15 and a half years, and then my husband killed himself in front of me and our 3 kids. And I think at the time it was, you know, probably the hardest thing that you could go through. And now in hindsight, you know, I'm 18 months out. I'm married to Rob. We have such a happy, healthy home. Like, I definitely feel like God has a plan and everything happens for a reason. And, you know, Rick learned what he was supposed to learn and did what he was supposed to do in this life. And we weren't done, and we had more to do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I feel every single person that I know that goes through that kind of stuff, I always go, oh, but you're like, in my head, right? I look at the person, that, especially if I know them, right? And I go, oh, but you'll be just fine. Like, you're gonna be just fine. Like, it's horrible, but you're gonna be just fine.
Yeah.
yeah. Have you ever seen that movie, Collateral Beauty, with Will Smith? And it's kind of he goes through it. His daughter passes away, and his wife goes a different direction, and it's and kind of one of the angels is like, don't forget to notice the collateral beauty. It's like it can be happening to you or happening for you, and when you realize life is a journey and that you're supposed to be learning something, and if you sit with that pain for a minute and be like, okay, I'm ready. What am I supposed to be learning here? Instead of just feeling it and avoiding it and running from it, then you can see the sunshine through the clouds.
Yeah, you can see the silver linings.
You know, and I think we've both been through enough and prior to meeting each other that we kind of came in like the missing piece.
Yeah.
Like, it's been the most cool relationship. Like, she has taught me so much about so many things that I've been through a lot, and then working in mental health, all these things, and she's just the quiet in the storm, and it's just like exactly what I needed, because I'm a high rev guy, and she's about the only person on the planet that is ever, I can just look at her and I'm like, okay,
slow down,
I got this. You know, just knowing that somebody has my back like she does, it's nice.
But I mean, basically, so both of you guys are warriors in the garden, huh? At this point, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And now you both authors, right? Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Authors.
Yeah, funny, when we met, we were both already working on our books, and it was like, we're like,
now we gotta get you covering tattoos.
I have a pretty big back piece. I wouldn't mind a few more.
Yeah, I just found out someone that I'm close to has like a big disease. I'm trying to tiptoe around this, and I see what this person has done and what she's gone through, and I go, oh, but you're gonna be just fine. And obviously they don't believe me, right? They're like, you don't understand. I'm like, no, I know a little bit of your past. I know what you're going through right now. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you're gonna be just fine.
Well, and sometimes just fine isn't what we think, but it still works out, you know?
Yeah.
I think I have a friend whose husband just died of cancer recently, and it was like a 3-4 year battle. And the time that they spent together during, you know, after his diagnosis was like such quality time, and their faith, their relationship, you know, it was tested, but they were so rock solid. And so, you know, even though he passed away, I think she can still take great pride in knowing that, like, they were amazing and that she can move forward with no regrets.
Do you guys, having so much loss in your guys' lives, are you guys afraid of death?
No.
I I don't know if I'm afraid of death. I'm afraid, well, I think it's a little hard as like a mother who my kids have already lost their dad. Mm-hmm. I'm afraid of like what would happen to my kids if I died. Mm-hmm. And I know obviously Rob would take great care of them, but I think that would be really hard for them to lose both parents at a young age. Mm-hmm. So I think I'm more scared of that than, well, and even like how Rob would do, like, you know, if I died and he'd...
Am I afraid of Heidi dying? Yes. I'm kind of good. But
that makes sense.
You know, that kind of comes back to my whole push for youth is our job as parents and as a community is to prepare our children, not to protect them. Yeah. Like there's, you know, protection that's whatever. But if you were to die today, does your kid have the tools necessary to move along and not crumble under that pressure? And that's where I feel mental health, life skills, her book that's coming out, my book is like we hopefully, you know, Warrior in the Garden, you should have the tools. Hopefully you don't need to use them, but that's where confidence and leadership come from, is preparing for worst case scenario, and then everything else just comes a little bit easier. Yeah. So I'm not afraid of death because I've lived, you know what I mean? But yeah, losing my partner, I think the ones that survive it that's the hardest. Yeah. You know?
I got a grandma, my dad's mom. She's back. She's in Mexico. She's back home. She's like 80 something, right? She's like, I am done. She's like, I'm done. I just want to go. Yeah. And back with the whole vaccinations were a thing. She was like, why? I was like, no, I want. And she, my grandpa passed away a few years ago. One of her sons passed away when I wasn't even born, actually, or maybe I was a toddler. He passed away in a car accident, I think. Oh. So her saying is like, I want to go and see my son and see my husband.
She's been through it.
But also, I was talking to, this is back when Justin was around. I was talking to him, and I mentioned, I said, I never seen a person, older person, right? When you get to like grandma, grandpa level, I never seen a person, like an older person that goes, I'm afraid of dying. Mm-hmm. I think they just get to a point where they're like every day is a gain, like at one point, right?
Yeah, I used to always say I never want to live past 50, and then as I've gotten older, I'm like, okay, 60, and then I'm like, maybe 70. Now I'm like, maybe 80.
Yeah. I think it comes back down to quality of life.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you miss your loved ones, you're hanging on for other people, or you're starting to get sick. We talk about it quite often about assisted suicide. Like
Rob always says, if he's shitting himself, that my job is to sit on his face.
Whoa.
There we go. Put that in your next book.
Jeez, baby. It's gotta keep sounding.
I fucking love it. I love it.
You were gonna put it in your vows on
I know, but that's the
Instagram.
Okay. Yeah. If I'm going out, I want to get smothered by my lover.
That's awesome.
Plus, kids probably don't listen to this podcast, right?
They shouldn't.
It's like, here we go.
Do you tell your the people you talk to, like the youth, do you tell them you do all these podcasts? Probably not, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just warn
You're not gonna tell them.
I come with a warning label, you know. But I think that's a big thing, is really just letting them. That's. I think the biggest thing is a lot of these kids are going through life being protected from what they're going to find in the hallways at the high school, and they're hearing it from little Johnny who just looked up Pornhub telling him how sex goes. Mm-hmm. It's like, I want to have the conversation first with these people. Yeah. If my own kids, for sure, but there's just so much misinformation out there. Like parents, that if I talk to my kid about sex, it's going to give them the right to have sex. If, you know, I try and keep it age appropriate. Obviously, I don't try. I do a very good job of that.
He's a lot better at that than me.
Of life skills and meeting people where they're at. But there's different populations and there's different things. But I don't want to make doing dumb shit look cool. Yeah. You know? Mm-hmm. And so I try and if I was on a youth podcast, I would obviously dial that in.
You're going to talk about your broken dick.
But for the most part, yeah, right? For the most part, you know, just depending on what they're going through, it's like they need to know the natural consequences of their actions.
Well, and I think I think parents try and protect kids from stuff. But if you don't think that the high school halls sound just like this podcast, you are just oblivious.
It used to be high school. It's junior high now. It would blow your mind to walk through a junior high and hear the stuff they're talking about. Like, I didn't hear that till college, and none of what you said was right.
Yeah,
right.
Did you go to prison for saying that?
That doesn't go there. I don't know where you heard that. Don't try that at home, kids. But that, they're acting a certain way at home, and then polar opposite in the hallways.
Yeah,
and like that's dangerous.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm kind of the same no matter where I'm at or who I'm around, because it's like I'm not going to put on masks to please anyone else, which sometimes makes me inappropriate, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I've had to learn that one from her.
I love it. That's how my ex was. She didn't have a filter. Which sometimes, I mean, like you.
Yeah,
I
sometimes
go,
you need to have
Christ. But sometimes I'm like, oh, you're one of the dudes. Yeah. You're one of the homies. Yeah. Yeah, like we would go out and like she would bring the girls for the other guys. I mean, she was a hood. I mean, she still is, but anyway. Anyway, so the reason why we're here,
and
let's back this up. Let's move away from broken dicks.
The whole passage, and it was
actually, let's do 2 episodes. Let's cut this one and start another one, a serious one. No, Miss McNulty, you wrote a book.
Yes.
It's called Buying Time.
Yes.
How long ago did you start this? You told me you guys were kind of working.
Yeah, so I actually started it 2 years ago.
Okay.
And at first, I was pretty successful. I owned a $30 million company. We had 450 employees. I had 86 rentals. I was flipping 20 homes a year. I was really working like 3 full-time jobs for a long time. And I made the decision to sell my company and retire, and turned all my properties over to property managers. And I had this kind of dream of like, my retirement dream is going to be to teach financial literacy to kids so that kids can, all retire when they're 35. I've always been really passionate about that. I think it's a huge problem in today's society. Schools expect parents to teach it. Parents don't know it, so they're not teaching it. The schools aren't teaching it. And then everyone just, lives above their means because they don't know any different. And so I've always been really passionate about teaching youth budgeting and teaching them, compound interest, teaching them at different investment strategies, teaching them which ones take, what amount of time and how much risk is involved so that you can make the right investment for your risk and time available. And so I've always wanted to do that. So that was the plan when I started writing the book, was to teach, to get some curriculum so that I could eventually go to the schools and have it be a mandatory class in high schools. Okay. And then my husband passed away, and I decided that I really needed to incorporate mental health into the book as well, because I think, I'll speak for myself. I definitely thought, once I become a millionaire, I'll be happy, life will be great. And I think people just have this idea of like, millionaires have no problems. And, the saying more money, more problems is absolutely true. You're responsible for 450 people, not just the people that live in your house. You're responsible for everyone that's living paycheck to paycheck. You mess up one thing, they can't pay their mortgage. It's a big deal, and there's a lot more stress involved when you get to that level. And so for years I was, really suicidal, like every birthday. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not doing good enough. I'm not enough. I'm not enough. When in reality, I was doing very well at a very young age. And then once I became a millionaire, I was like, okay, I must be missing something, because there was no magic snap of the fingers. My life didn't just turn perfect. And so I really started a personal development journey, going to Tony Robbins events, a lot of different self-development events, and really was able to stay in a healthy place even though my husband was quite mentally ill. He had PTSD really bad. And the stress at work and the stress at home, really took a toll on me. And I am super grateful that I sought out the tools to be able to deal with that. I think I really, at this point, I really still want to teach in school. I still want curriculum in schools, but I want 2 years of mental health, coping methods, how to, identify different characteristics, narcissism, things like that, so that they can understand how to respond and keep themselves happy and healthy. And then 2 years of financial literacy. So the book talks about kind of my journey and my journey to success, but then my journey on my personal development journey, and how when my husband passed away, I was in a position to buy myself time to heal. Because I had retired, I didn't have to work. I could focus 100% of my time on my healing and my kids' healing, and bought time as far as, healing in a short time, instead of most widows. I know several widows have gotten 3 jobs just to pay the mortgage and pay the bills. They don't have time with their kids. They don't have time to break down, and they're really just going in survival mode. And they aren't able to, really thrive in life after you lose, especially like the breadwinner in the family. My situation wasn't that, but I'm very grateful for that. And it bought me time to heal. And I was able to move on and get remarried and, create a very happy, healthy home in a very short amount of time, because of the financial disciplines that I had when I was younger, and because of the personal development journey that I went on.
Is it possible to make finances understandable for young people, for kids? I mean, I want to say kids, but I don't.
Yeah, I call it youth. So like
Can I answer this? Because I'm a ding ding on that. Like I can't.
Don't say ding ding, because you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying?
Why are you trying to talk about your dick again?
Like we came.
We're being serious,
I thought
Rob.
we moved out from.
Man, these two, we're gonna have a timeout, and we'll be right back. Now, it's like my dad was very successful, and I was surrounded by all these people, and I feel like it was easier for them just to provide things rather than take the time to help us understand the value of a dollar. And I've been around a lot of successful people for a long time, and never really learned these simple applications. She breaks it down so good in this book that I was like, are you kidding? I'm 46 years old and I'm learning and it's like written in crayons where kids can apply this without a parent's understanding. They're going to see like everybody gets a raise, so their cost of living goes up. Like you have to stay disciplined regardless, but the way in which she teaches and puts in this book is so amazing, and really a good 13-year-old, like we just did an entrepreneur thing. She was a judge. And these kids have already started businesses at 12, 13, 14. And she is like, this book is perfect, one for adults, but it is explained so well that kids are going to be like, oh my God, I'm not going to buy that game on my Xbox because I can buy Xbox down the road if I just am disciplined. And she made it so, it was amazing.
It's definitely directed at youth 15 to 25, and so the concepts are explained in a way that a 15 to 25-year-old can understand it. Obviously most adults will be able to understand that as well, and the processes still apply to adults. I think the reason I'm targeting youth is it's a lot easier when you go to buy your first home to buy a townhouse or a condo and start small and work your way up with discipline than it is to already be upside down, be house poor, and then make the decision to downsize and kind of downgrade your life. That's a lot harder and takes a lot more discipline. I still, the principles in the book still go through that and talk about how that is the right choice. But I think my goal is to get results and for people to actually, see the change and the positive outcomes of their choices. And I think more youth will be able to apply this with less discipline than adults would need a lot more discipline.
Is this, I don't want to call it the secret, but is the formula to manage money or just save money?
So it depends on the person. So really the beginning of the book goes through budgeting, goes through understanding how much you make. Like for example, you ask someone how much they make, they say their salary. They don't know how much they make each month. And if they do, they don't know where that money's going. I do budgets with people. I do coaching, and it always amazes me how even really successful people like multimillionaires I coach, and we ask them how much they make and how much they spend each month. They have no idea, and they're like, "Well, I don't know. I just it's fine." And it's like, well, it's not fine because you're coming to me for coaching. So obviously, we need to make some positive changes so that you can invest your money better. And so a good example of that is like, I'll do budgets with people and they'll be like, well, I live paycheck to paycheck. I don't have any money to invest. And I'm like, okay, well, let's look at where your money's going. And so the first step is for them to create a budget and outline what they think their bills are, how much they think they're spending. And then I have them go through their bank statement and actually break out each line item and put it in a category on the budget so that every penny you spent is accounted for. I would say 99% of people think they spend $500 a month on fast food. I've only had one person ever that spent less than $1,200 a month on fast food. So just by identifying that in one step, you can free up $700 a month to invest. If you invest $700 a month for 5 years, 10 years, you'll be a millionaire in no time. And so it's just small principles like that that aren't, again, I'm not telling people they have to make more to invest. I'm helping them figure out where their money's going and where they can cut back. Like for mine, for example, I didn't have cable or DirecTV or anything until I was a millionaire. And instead, I didn't really watch YouTube, but like my kids would watch YouTube for free. And my husband would read books, and we were learning and, growing our brains instead of watching TV. And I invested that $120 a month into real estate. And then for my birthday when I was 30, I got myself DirecTV. But like little things like that, like, you can easily go without some things for a small period of time and it grows. Yeah. If you know what you're doing and the book gives you several different investment options and it breaks it down into very simple terms that are understandable so that you can feel like you can do this. And really everyone can. Like we bought our first rental property. Between the two of us, we made $70,000. Mm-hmm. So like I was only making like $35,000 when I bought my first rental property. I was only making $35,000 when I bought my first house. And so it's, I think it's important for people to understand that everyone can be successful. Everyone can become a millionaire. It just takes certain disciplines that really aren't that complicated. But the problem is that, like me, you have to go to school and get your master's degree in accounting, or you have to pay for these $5,000 seminars to learn the information. And I want to change that. I want that information to be free and available to everyone and mandatory to everyone, because I think it will create some really big ripple effects. Number one cause of divorce is financial stress. Number one cause of child depression is divorce. Number one cause of domestic violence is financial stress. So if we can eliminate the financial stress with some, good financial hygiene and financial literacy, then we can create some really positive changes in the home that will filter out into society in general.
Here's the problem I got right now that this is happening to me. When I bought the house that I was living with my wife, ex-wife, I think I had $5,000 in like a barely above water credit, right? Mm-hmm. And then they said, oh, you can afford this much. And then obviously my mother or whoever said, well, you don't want to spend that much, right? Like that's, like the top. You want to go like. So we bought a house, 5-bedroom house, 4-car garage. We had all 3 kids with us at that point. I still had an office. I mean, it was perfect.
I was gonna say, it sounds like a nice big house.
Yeah, it was a big house. Yeah. Now, so we split, right? I get my chunk of the half. I don't have any bills, so my credit is like it shot like crazy, right? Mm-hmm. I go to my lender and I say, well, I have this much. And I'm like, you check my credit, all right? Do your homework. And then they're like, oh, you can afford this. And I go, but 8 years ago, I had less than half with a shitty credit, and look at the big house that I had. Nowadays, you're telling me, oh, you can only do this.
Yeah, the housing market has definitely shifted in the last 18 months. One of the things that changes what you can qualify for is the interest rates, because it makes your payment higher, and your payment is qualified based off your debt to income ratio. So if your income is X, and before the interest rates were 2%, so the payment was $2,000 a month, well, now they're 7%, which is $3,500 a month off the same income. You're not going to be able to qualify for the same size house.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people are running into. But in the book, it even goes through other options. You don't always have to go through a bank to buy a house. There's seller financing where you can take over someone else's mortgage and pay their payments. And a lot of the times right now, people are doing seller financing, and you get their 2% interest. You buy their house, and you still get into a house with no credit, no, some money down, maybe no money down, depending on the situation, and you have a super low payment.
Yeah.
But those are things that, again, like, I've gone to, thousands of real estate classes to learn these things, whereas they need to be known to everyday people so that a divorced father of 3 kids can still provide a good house for his child and not break the bank to do it.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that I see now that you're explaining how this book is going to show, how, like, an easier way to do finances. Another thing that I noticed, and back when I was living in that house, I had my truck payment, which wasn't cheap at all. I was paying for the house, obviously. I was paying for the utilities. I was paying for half of the insurance. I was paying for when the ex-wife couldn't pay for the car. I was like, I'll pay for your car. I was paying for my motorcycle. Now I don't have a house. My truck is paid off. My bike is paid off. I don't have bills. I don't have utilities. And then I'm like, why do I feel like I always struggle with money? Now, I'm not broke by any means. I make good money. But sometimes I just go, I do pay for a storage unit, because I'm like, I was thinking that I was going to get out of there sooner than later. But
so even like storage units, you can buy a trailer and have the trailer parked for way less than a storage unit.
Yeah.
Storage unit is kind of like rent. You're paying somebody else's mortgage. Whereas if you get a trailer, then you have an asset, storage, and eventually the payment stops and it's free.
Yeah. God damn it. Right? I'm doing it all wrong, dude. When is this book coming out?
Right? And I think,
March 28th.
And I don't know about you, but a lot of ego for me is involved going from that to this. It's like, I'm not going to do that.
Dude, you're preaching to the choir. My mom keeps telling me, well, buy this. And I'm like, and this is like my own issue. I don't want a small house.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I haven't bought a house.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want a small house. My mom is like, but this doesn't have to be your, what do you call it?
Your
long-term
dream home.
No, it doesn't have to be your forever home.
Yeah.
Right? It's just you buy it, you use your money for something good that is going to generate more money.
100%.
And then I'm not going to tell her that you say that, but
well, I'm going to give you a plan that is going to help you with this.
But she said just buy it, and then at the end, like even after a year, you can keep it, or you can refinance it and get all that equity, and then now you're saving for the house that you want. And at the end of the day, you either do that. Ever since I sold that house, and I've been living with I'm renting the house off of my friend. Ever since I did that, somebody put in my head, well, why don't you just buy and rent? Mm-hmm. And I go, okay, but in paper, it sounds easy. I don't know if it's that easy.
It is that easy depending on the house. If you buy and rent it out immediately, you definitely want to make sure that, heaters, furnaces,
for sure.
Things like water heaters, that those things are all
Don't I have to live in it for a year?
You don't have to. Technically, for most loans, you're supposed to, but there's no one that checks that.
Okay.
The other reason why I would say absolutely buy the house is buy a townhouse, live in it for a year, 2 years, and then if you sell it and you've owned it for 2 years or more, all that income, all that equity is tax-free. So then you take, obviously you've been paying down the mortgage. The house has been increasing in equity at roughly 10% per year over a 10-year period. Obviously, some years it's 2%, some years it's 30%, but over 10 years it'll grow roughly 10%, and you're getting that 10% plus you paid down the mortgage, so all your mortgage payments made your amount owed less, which grows your equity even more, and then you have that much more to go into the next house. Or you can rent it out and buy the next house, whatever you qualify for, and continue to do that until you have 5-10 rentals, and really all you did was move every 2 years.
That's what my realtor said. She was like, "Have you ever thought about just buying a house, any house, any house,
100%,
and you just buy it, live in it for a year at least, and then just give it out for rent."
So do you rent right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So what if you bought a house and rented it out immediately and continued to rent? Like, you don't want to downgrade your house, but you qualify for a townhouse. Buy a townhouse, let that build equity while you're still living the lifestyle you want to live.
Yeah.
But you have an asset that's growing in equity and someone else is paying the mortgage and you're growing wealth doing absolutely nothing different.
I think it's because, and I could be wrong. Obviously, you're here. You're like, clearing all my questions. But I think it's because I feel like in a way I'm still paying it, since someone's gonna do it for me, right? But I feel like I'm paying someone else's mortgage, right? Now, I'm renting this house off of my best friend, right? He's giving me a killer deal for what I basically. It's a big house too, tiny garage. Fuck that. But it's also a 5-bedroom house.
Does it have a place for you to park a trailer?
Yeah, it does. It has like an RV park actually, a spot. But I don't know. I think it's that insecurity of knowing, I'm paying his mortgage.
I was gonna say, but you do realize by renting you're paying your friend's mortgage, right?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's why I feel like if I buy a house, I would rather move into it or move in it than just say, I'm gonna buy it and give it up for rent.
Yeah, I definitely think buying a house and moving into it is the best option.
Yeah.
But again, for older people that aren't,
You calling me old?
Well, you're not 18 buying your first house, right?
How old am I?
19.
I don't know, 30, 35?
Yeah.
Somewhere in
Anyway.
there.
Thanks.
But I think that's a way that you can do it without downgrading your lifestyle, but still buying assets and getting the assets to grow for you.
Okay, but is that... Tell me the truth. Is it literally as easy as it sounds?
Yes. Especially if you don't want to manage it yourself. Managing it yourself is pretty easy. Like I managed mine myself while working, full-time, running a company and flipping homes, and managed my rentals till I got to 68 rentals. And it's most of the time, the key to being an easy landlord is fixing things right when you buy it, so that they're getting essentially a new AC unit, a new furnace, a new water heater, and there's not much that can go wrong if you have, new fixtures and new things, or if you buy a house that's well taken care of, there's not much that goes wrong. When you buy old houses, put renters in it immediately, don't fix things, then it's a pain in the ass because you have to coordinate with the renters to get things fixed. They're breaking all the time. And that's where I think a lot of people get this idea that being a landlord is extremely difficult. I had 10 rentals that all I did was get their checks every month on rent, pay the mortgage for several months at a time without even a phone call.
So what are the details of this? Let's just say I bought a house and the house is a couple grand a month, right? So I live in it for a year and then I rent it out. Do I rent it out? We're talking about $2,500. We're talking about...
You want to go based off of rent market comps. But like your realtor, when you buy a house, she or he can give you like what it would rent for in that market. Another easy way, this is what I do. I go to KSL, I type in the zip code, I type in, 3 beds, 2 baths, and see what other houses are up for rent. And some of them are going to be really low and shitty. And some of them are going to be brand new and nice. And then I just gauge kind of where my property fits within that range based on how nice it is and set the rent accordingly.
It's a lot of due diligence and
Yeah.
She does a good job at checking that, and then also checking who you rent it to.
But again, the other thing is you can have a realtor do that for you. You don't have to know how to do that. You can have the property manager fill your tenants for you, and it doesn't usually, depending on the property manager, it doesn't cost more when they get new tenants in there. It's just that's part of their monthly fee.
Yeah. So, okay, so let's go back to my example. I live in it. $2,000. I'm trying to get to the dumbest way for me to get this, right? To get the big picture.
For sure.
So $2,000 a month, right? I live in it for a year, right? So then I rent it out for $2,500, $2,600, whatever. I'm guessing that money has to go, that like the leftover money has to go into like a savings for that house.
That's what I recommend, but it's not necessary. You can take the money out. You can do whatever you want with it. The house will depreciate on your tax return, and so there's a lot that gets written off. So even though you're making $600 a month, you're not paying tax on $600 a month. Most of the time, your first couple rentals are a loss, and so you actually pay less taxes, and it writes off some of your other income. So you're saving tax dollars. You're spending we'll say $24,000 a year. It's $2,000 a month, right? You're spending $24,000 a year that you were paying anyways, just to live. But now at the end of that year, you have that $24,000 in equity. Plus, let's say the house was $500,000. You have another 10% in equity there. So you got another $5,000 there. So you just made $31,000 that you didn't have a year ago that you have just by owning a home. And instead, what you're doing is you're paying the same amount of money, the same out of pocket, and your landlord is doing that.
And all this is in the book?
Most of it, yeah. Obviously, like specifics to your situation aren't, but the principles are definitely all in there so that you understand what you're walking away from when you rent, and you understand what you're walking away from when you spend $1,200 on fast food, what you could be doing with that money so that you can understand and make decisions accordingly.
It's you don't miss doing this then?
What do you mean miss doing this?
Because you said you got rid of all your rentals.
No, I still have some.
But you said you had 10 at one point. Now you don't have 10?
I had 86 at one point.
Jesus
and
Christ.
Right now I think I'm at 65.
Oh,
so I've
okay.
sold some because in the last 18 months, kind of side note, my husband died, and the day that my husband died was the day that they raised interest rates. I had 12 houses on the market or under construction, and every single one of those 12 houses sold for less than I bought it for with the market changing. And so I've lost a lot in the last 18 months. So I've sold rentals to accommodate for those losses. But again, like, if I wasn't buying rentals, I wouldn't have had the money to pay that. I would have just been screwed. And so that's another thing, that when you run into life's hardships, you have a backup plan. You have assets you can lean on or sell or leverage to be able to get through the situation and not just, claim bankruptcy or just give up.
It sounds so easy.
It really is.
The book, I'm telling you, I was like, if I would have known these simple things,
Right? Yeah.
not from mom and dad, because I probably wouldn't have listened anyways. It's like, the little things that we spend money on, going to the bar, buying the rims, getting the bigger truck, whatever it is. If you could just be humble for a few more years, you could have paid for all that stuff from the rentals.
Yeah, you could have
passive
gotten
income
all
that
that
they
for
talk
free while you're
about.
in Mexico.
Well, I already paid for that.
Right?
It's funny you mentioned, because one of my personal dreams that I want to do with my mother so bad is to have a Airbnb at home, like back home. And I'm dying. And there was a point in time we talked to somebody that was selling all these properties, and they were all furniture and they were ready to go, and they were like in all these touristic areas, and when you see the price you're talking about a house by the beach, 3 rooms, 4 rooms, whatever, and they're like $200,000 to $300,000. And you're like, this is a killer deal. But then when we actually, because I told my mom, I'm like, let's do it. I'll put the money and you manage it. Let's just and I still so want to have a business with my mom. I'm like, let's do it. And we kind of got bummed out because they wanted like $90,000 down payment. We were like, what? It's like, that's the catch. I was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah, so there's ways around that as well. But you mentioned Airbnb, so I'm going to just put a bug in your ears.
Oh,
Everyone
you're going to
thinks-
ruin my dream? That's the only time we have
Everyone thinks Airbnbs are it.
Okay.
And I am really close friends with a mortgage lender. No one that does Airbnbs makes that year round. Airbnbs are very seasonal, and I don't know anyone personally. I know a lot of people in real estate. I don't know anyone personally that makes more on an Airbnb than they would if they would have just rented it full time.
What's the difference?
Consistency.
Yeah, you get the same amount every month. Whereas with Airbnbs, you might make $6,000 1 month, and then it's not rented for 2 months,
you're saying,
and you're paying the mortgage those 2 months.
So you're saying buy
and rent it out permanently, full time.
But don't you think it's kind of a harder sell to rent something out that is like right at the beach? Because usually the people that want to rent it,
You don't want to live on the beach?
No. I'm saying like if I want to rent the house that I buy in Mexico, for example, because you're saying don't Airbnb it, rent it.
Yeah.
But usually the people that are going to rent the house is locals, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, usually.
Okay, so am I right?
Depending on the area. Mexico's probably, a little bit different. That's where you definitely want to run your numbers and understand the numbers. And again, realtors can give you the market rent for Airbnb, and then they can give you the average vacancy for that area. And then they can also give you market rent for regular rentals, long-term rentals, and you can weigh the two and then make an educated decision instead of buying an Airbnb because someone said they made $8,000 last month, but what they failed to tell you was that they didn't make anything the 3 months before that. So really it just put the money back in their savings that they spent on the mortgage.
It's like Vegas. You're like, I won 10 grand. And then
Right.
you ask, how much did you have to spend to win that 10 grand? Well, 20, but I still won 10 grand.
Yeah, that's exactly Airbnbs in a nutshell.
This page that my mother follows, it's a guy, right, on Instagram, and it's showing you the houses and all this stuff, and according to, obviously you're here to set the record straight, but according to them, it's like an average of 30 grand a year profit. So not my problem, like the thing that I'm seeing after what you just said is like if I buy it to rent, I feel like, because what I want to do with an Airbnb it's gonna be like on the fancy side of things because it's right by the beach, it's right by the touristic area, stuff like that. A local is not gonna want to do that because he's probably sick of all that stuff. So it's like, no, I want a house far away from, like, maybe in the city.
Yeah.
And that takes us away from what we want to do.
Right. So that's just where you go in and like she said, you check that area and see, you
And
weigh
understand
the
the
options.
numbers. And some people kill it on Airbnb. There's like 6 people that do really good on Airbnbs. But the other thing that people don't consider about Airbnbs is they think it's cool. Every time someone leaves, you have to get the house cleaned. You have to do the laundry. And every time, if you don't do it yourself, which is a huge pain in the ass, like talk about hard being a landlord, that's really a huge pain. Every time they leave and they fuck up, they have a big party and they fuck up the house, you got to pay for that. Every time, and if you're not doing it, you're paying the property manager and a cleaning company and all these other things to do it. So again, people tell you they made $6,000. What they didn't tell you is they had $5,500 in fees and they really only made $500 that month. And that was a good month. That wasn't a bad month.
And the nice thing about having a coach like Heidi or whatever is we get super passionate about
Focused.
our dream, and there's a whole bunch of blind spots.
Yeah.
So to do what you want to do and give it to somebody like Heidi or a real estate agent, so they can be like, well, you're missing ding 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 ding, and you end up losing $500.
You guys are like pumping me up. I'm gonna go buy a house when I get out of here.
That's good. I want you
have one for
to.
you in Pepperwood.
What you say?
He said we have one for you in Pepperwood. I have a house that's for sale right now, $4.35 million in Pepperwood.
Oh yeah, let me get my book, my checkbook.
No, but here's the other cool thing with it is, I think everyone's entitled to their dream. So if your dream is to own an Airbnb in Mexico, I definitely think you should do that. But I think you should maybe take some steps in the meantime and maybe do it in a different order so that you have, 5 rentals that make $500 each, so that if your Airbnb isn't rented, your rentals pay the mortgage on your Airbnb and you're not out of pocket, and no foul, no harm. And if you decide to go there that month, you can.
I think the advantage that we have is the fact that we have family there, right?
Yeah.
And so, and I'll tell you a little bit of like what we've thought about, right? So we buy the property, we put it up for we Airbnb or whatever. Give the people a choice to maybe, let's just say they're staying for a week. And they say in the package they go, oh, we wanna go on a tour 2 days out of the whole week or 3 days, whatever. We will have a van because we have family there. My uncle, per se, can drive them around. They can tip him because we're talking about dollars, right? So they can tip him. He's gonna make a killer deal just by the tips, and then we pay him on top of that. His wife cleans houses and also cooks. So then again, my mom and I were like, we sat down and we're thinking, now imagine this.
Yeah.
You sell a package when they're like, hey, instead of just going out every night, let's just stay in a couple nights, and then we eat like a Mexican feast.
Yeah.
So where my uncle's wife can say, okay, well then I cook. They tip her, and then we pay them.
Yeah.
So you're talking more. It's a
Family
a full
business. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Which-
more of like a hotel style, but custom.
So my thing with that, again, everyone's entitled to their dream. If that's how you want to do it, I think that's great. I just think that my hope for you is that with the book, it will educate you on the numbers.
Yeah.
So that you're going into these dreams with an educated idea of what it takes, and understand that it's really not as hard as people make it sound, and that it should be taught to everyone.
Yeah.
So that you can achieve those dreams in a relatively good amount of time, and not make a ton of mistakes along the way.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that sounds like a great idea. It's definitely doable. I'd love to, sit down and help you understand the numbers, or you can buy the book on March 28th.
No, I'm telling you, I don't think I ever written the whole book in its entirety. I think I'm gonna do it this time.
Yeah. Well, and it's pretty short.
Yeah.
Like it's like 130 pages. So it's not. I hate.
Unlike this other guy.
Yeah, the audibles. I hate
What was
audibles.
yours?
Mine was like 700 to start, and then we cut it back. They're like, you're at
It was
100,000
like 350 at the
It's
end.
362,
Yeah.
but it's a banger.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But like on
You
Audible,
just wait until they turn that bitch into a movie, dude.
it will be a great movie.
Hell yeah, it will.
But I hate
6-hour
like on
movie, though.
Audible when they're 12-hour books, and I'm just like, who the hell
Yeah.
listens to a book for 12
Yeah.
hours? It's 6 hours in, I'm bored. Like
Yeah.
you're just telling me the same thing 10 more times.
Yeah.
So my book's not like that. It's pretty clear and concise. There's not a lot of repetitive processes. There's a workbook that goes with it, so you can actually like do exercises with your own finances to really understand it. And it's a quick read.
I don't read, and I was kicking
I didn't want to
myself in
say
the
that because I didn't
ass.
want to sound like a dodo.
I'm not a reader. Oh, I hate
Really?
reading.
So-
Rob's book is the first book I've read in probably 10 years.
Yeah.
I read a book about 10 years ago, and then I hadn't read a book since middle school. I
And you-
hate
you-
reading.
She's probably reading the book. It's like,
like,
I've
hey.
seen this movie before.
She's like, only read it because we were dating at the time. She needed to have something to talk about, but I think she actually
No,
liked
it actually, his book was totally a page turner. Like, even I'm reading it right now with
Yeah.
my 10-year-old, and you get to the end of the page and you're like, oh, what happens next? Like, it's kind of like cliffhangers at the end of each episode on TV. Like, that's how his book is. Like, you get to the end of the chapter and you're like, oh, but what happens next? Like, I gotta keep reading. So his book is great in that way.
You're not doing the Audible then?
I am, yeah.
you are?
Well, not me personally.
Why?
Because my voice is annoying.
No, it's not. Are you going to do your voice too?
I wouldn't want to
I
listen to my
tried.
voice.
It's like I tell a story, but when you're
Reading the book though.
yeah, but it's harder than you think.
Really?
Yeah, because you like.
I think it's
you'll sit here and
especially
talk,
hard.
And the way you write a book, people have to be able to smell it and feel it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
There's no body language. There's no. And then I get on the mic and I'm passionate and I'm excited, and I screw up on the thing and it's a clap, restart, and I'm not a reader.
Yeah.
And then the pace and all these things, it would have never came out. And I may down the road, but I have another guy gonna read it now because it's really not it's my story, but it's everybody's story because it's real life. So
can all relate
I would
to it.
it's to help people. And if I sit there and try and figure this out, it's lives are going away.
But don't you think that takes away though? The fact it's not you guys.
Most people don't know
Personally,
us.
I think that it takes away for Rob because
I
Rob
fucking
has,
know you guys.
Rob has a great voice. He's great at speaking.
Yeah.
I think it's especially hard for him because he's told his story in, large auditoriums so many times
What's wrong with your voice?
that he knows what's next. My voice is super high pitched
No,
and
it-
annoying. I
But
hate listening to my
you're a
voice on
woman,
videos.
though. Like, you don't want to have like a thick ass voice.
Like, hi, I'm Heidi McNulty.
I will say,
about them
I'm listening to a
finances.
book right now, The Road Less Stupid, Keith Cunningham, and I swear to God, it sounds like I'm in general conference. Like, it's horrible. It's so monotone, and I'm just like, this book would have done way better had he picked a different reader. So
Do you know who's gonna do it?
I haven't picked yet, so they're gonna present 3 actors
You don't want to make
to
it
me.
sexy either, though, because no one's gonna pay attention.
No, yeah. So they'll present 3 actors to me, and I'll get to choose from their voices. And
Does it matter if it's a guy or a girl?
I don't think it does for my book. I think it definitely does for Rob's book. It would be weird if it was like a girl's voice and all the shit he's done.
But in your book, I'm sure you have a picture of yourself, right?
No,
Not even on the end, the credit, nothing.
I don't think so. No.
There's a small one at the back. Just showing the author, an author pic.
I think it's got to be a
oh,
girl.
yeah,
It's got to be a
it's
woman.
I
little.
Right?
made her put a burqa
Yeah, that's
on
right.
and
You made me.
She covered up like
He made me put a little picture, but it's just a headshot that's like the size of a
That's
quarter.
what I'm saying. But you know, and it's obviously it's gonna have your name, right?
Yeah, mine's
Obviously.
not like Rob's where it's like him on the cover, naked.
Like showing the fuck gutters.
What do you call him? I call him.
Fuck gutters.
Oh, I call them cum gutters.
How did you want to learn your finances from this woman right here?
Rob loves his cum gutters.
I work hard.
No, I think it's got to be a girl. Because even if people don't know you and they don't know what you sound like,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously these
Yeah.
podcasts are doing the homework.
Actually,
of like
now that you say that,
showing-
there is a lot about my personal life. So yeah, it probably should be a girl.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it should be
That
you.
doesn't have an annoying
I think it
voice.
should. I think it should be you. I think it should be both of you guys doing your thing.
I'm one day. It's
I definitely
got-
agree with you on Rob's voice,
Yeah.
telling his story the way he
and
tells
I
it.
tried.
I know.
The
He tried a
timing,
lot.
like,
It
it's,
was really hard.
Yeah, I'm not an academic. I don't know those things.
Yo, if you find a girl that has an accent, it's called biting time. You're like, oh my god, dude, I'm definitely listening to
Okay,
this.
this is one of those books.
I went to one time. I went to a. I'm not gonna say the name. Let's just say a motorcycle store, and the girl that was there, she wasn't like the cutest, but she was. She had an accent, like an English accent. I was like, I'll buy whatever you want me
Dude,
to buy.
the Starbucks in
I was just
Centerville.
gonna say that. You
So
can't
we
say-
went to Starbucks.
Heidi,
I go to
don't blow
Starbucks.
people up.
I go to Starbucks. No, I'm not saying. I don't even know her name. So,
Like,
anyways, there's a Starbucks
in
location, and we would go there every morning. I go to Starbucks every morning for coffee, and we pull up every time. She's just like, "Welcome to Starbucks. What can I get for you?" And Rob's like,
You're in the wrong business. You should be a 1-800 number.
"Yeah, she would make so much
changed
more."
her voice, and I went, Jesus Christ! Why'd you do that for your book?
No, this girl every morning at Starbucks, and we were like, dude, she is totally like a sex worker, or she's in the wrong line
Now
of business.
everybody's gonna go to the fucking
Right.
Starbucks.
She works the morning shift. You have to go at 5 a.m.
Do you want that whip? Sugar-free whip? I'll give you an extra shot.
See, I'm already getting turned on. It's you. So what's the final goal for this book? Once it's out, are you still touring? Are you
I would love to speak in schools and get. I really would love to learn more about like the process to getting curriculum into schools and getting it into mandatory classes. That I would say that's definitely my long-term like pipe dream is to get my book and financial literacy courses mandatory in every school in America, and then work on some mental health classes or have Rob work on those in the meantime while I'm working on the finance piece and learn how to get these things in schools. I'd love to speak in any schools and help kids learn Really, like, my workbook is available for purchase, but I also made it available for free on my website. So if you can't afford it, it's free to download. Me personally, I wouldn't want to print something out and fill it out. I'd rather just buy the workbook, but that might not be an option for some people, and my goal is to help them. It's not to make money off of this.
Yeah.
I'm going to change the world.
That's what I'm talking
Corny
about.
as that sounds.
That's what I'm talking about. No, I'm there. I'll tell you what. That I part of the reason why I haven't pulled triggers because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. I don't necessarily know what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like I know what I want, and I'm starting to realize, okay, I'm not gonna get that from the first shot.
Yeah.
That's already in my head. I was like, okay, that house is not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So we got to start somewhere here in order to get
10
there.
years from now, five houses later, it could absolutely happen.
Yeah. So.
And I think that's in the book a lot. Like, it talks about delayed gratification. You might not be able to have what you want right now, but let's take steps that will get you towards that so that it will happen.
Yeah.
And
Whereas,
doing nothing won't.
Well,
yeah,
I'm delayed already, so yeah, I fit in.
Yeah, but I mean, half of America doesn't own a home in their lifetime.
Yeah.
So you've owned a home. You're still doing better than most.
Yeah.
So you know, give yourself some credit.
I guess it comes down to I'm not the most patient person.
Yeah, it definitely takes discipline. And
But I get
Patient
it.
and
like,
picky.
Yeah, I just had a few episodes ago. I had 3 of my best friends here, and we were just shooting the shit. And I mentioned to one of them, I'm like, it's just like fucking around, right? I'm like, well, you're the most successful one out of the group, and he has like 2 businesses. His wife is a realtor, and he said, what I like to do, he says, I buy things cash. He said, I don't go, like if I was gonna buy a truck, for example, I save my ass to go and buy my truck. I don't get loans.
yeah,
I mean, he has a loan on his truck, but I'm saying like he just built a big ass shop in this house, and it's like if I would not waited as much as I did, I would have gotten me a smaller shop. But I didn't want a smaller shop. But he has that mentality of like, well, we're not gonna get out of here until we can afford it.
yeah. And the book talks about that too. Like, there's good debt and there's bad debt. Leveraging homes, leveraging assets isn't bad debt, but credit card debt or sometimes car loans, sometimes, things that you're buying above your means and that aren't an asset that's appreciating over time. It's depreciating and it's less and less value. Those are never things that, that I would recommend leveraging.
Is credit score a scam?
I don't think so. I think that's another thing that's in the book. It talks about for kids to get a credit card when they turn 18 and put their phone bill on the credit card and shred the credit card, throw it away, and set up auto payments from your credit card to your checking account so that it automatically pays it. It builds credit and you're not paying anything different.
Yeah.
But that's a great way for 18-year-olds to build credit when they don't have houses or cars or things. And I don't recommend that they buy houses or cars that they can't afford.
I think my first credit, I started it with like I think it was an Xbox and RC Willie.
So for years, I paid all of my bills except my mortgage on my credit card and immediately paid off my credit card every month. And I paid for my Starbucks that way. It was $500 a month that I would get in credit card rewards. And I'd get a Visa gift card. I'd load the Visa gift card to my Starbucks app and essentially got free coffee. Just for knowing these little tricks, I didn't pay a dime in interest because I paid it off every month. They just paid me to have a credit card and raise my credit.
It just sounds so easy.
It really is, though. That's the thing. I think that's the common misperception is that it's hard and I don't know how to do it and I can't do it. Or my parents didn't own a house. I'm not going to be able to own a house. And it's just simply not true. Like there's a lot of things in life you didn't know how to do. You didn't know how to be a dad till you were a dad, but you're doing fine.
Stepkids.
But you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we don't know how to do anything till we jump in and do it.
Yeah.
And if you can educate yourself on the basic principles and then continue to learn as you go, you'll be able to do these things a lot easier than you think.
And not bite off more than you can chew.
So discipline and patience, basically.
Yeah, discipline and delayed gratification, which in the book is outlined as understanding your goals and your values and making sure all your decisions align with your long-term goals and values.
And I think mentorship, like having the right people around you to kind of walk you through it. You don't have to be a pro at it.
Yeah.
You can have people around you that are going to walk you through it. Which
And-
this
and I'm
book
not a
really
big-
walks you through it.
Yeah, I'm not a big advocate of like nowhere in my book am I saying like you can't go out and you can't have fast food and you can't have nice cars. Like I've always had a nice car. I'm a car diva. When I was 19, I had a nice car. But for me, it was part of my budget, and that was one of my things that I was okay to spend money on. When I started, I got married. I was 19. My husband was 34, and I had no debt. I had savings. We get married, and I find out he has 20 grand in credit card debt, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I'm young. 20 grand is a lot of money at that time.
So you've been this way since, first of all, you did it all on your own?
Yeah.
And so you've been like this ever since you were younger.
Yeah.
Like a lot younger.
Well, I was always very determined to be a millionaire. I grew up, my dad was the sole provider. My parents are LDS. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. We lived in California, so it was expensive as hell. We had 5 kids. My mom our car was always breaking down. We never had AC. It was hot as fuck. And so I grew up like determined that I am not living paycheck to paycheck. I am not having shitty cars, and I will do what I got to do to make sure that happens. Now, when I was young, I always had, 2 or 3 jobs to make sure that happened. But I didn't go without like a nice life, really how I started, especially when I found out my husband had 20 grand in credit card debt, we put all our cards, our debit cards, credit cards, everything in a manila envelope in my purse that said, do we need this? And we'd be at Target and there'd be a shirt on there, or there'd be, a candy for my kid, and I would put it back. And because I'd read this every time, do I need this? What do I not need that's on the belt right now? I would put it back, and I would immediately put that amount. So say the shirt was $15 and the candy was $5. I would immediately put $20 towards his debt. So every day I was doing multiple transactions, multiple payments to the credit card. And after a few months, we realized we were spending $2,000 a month towards the debt. So then we got to a point where we were comfortable enough to just put $2,000 a month at the beginning of the month and live with the rest. Then we were used to it. Once the debt was paid off, we could save $2,000 a month, which is a lot of money because we were already used to it. And when we got raises, we didn't buy more shit. We put the raise, say the raise was $400 a month, we'd put $2,400 a month towards savings, so that we kept our same lifestyle even when we made more money. And then we had money to buy rentals. I bought my first rental at 22, and we had money to buy rentals. We had money for the rentals could pay for the car. Like if we wanted a new car, the rental paid the car payment. It was free. Like not free really, but essentially free. It didn't cost me more to have nice things over time because the rentals would pay for that.
I'm liking it. I'm liking it. No, you make it easy to.
And that's my goal,
digest.
Is to make it easy.
Yeah.
Like I feel like so many people, especially coaches, they want you to pay them hella money to come to their seminar to teach you something that's really fucking easy.
I've been so close to do that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I've been so close to be like, he's my example, right? Look what he can do.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I can just go in there and pay him whatever it is he's fucking charging.
Yeah. But there's a lot of these resources free. I think these resources should be mandatory in high schools so that everyone has this information. We're not paying hella money to someone that, seems genius when really it's a very basic principle.
Well, the book comes out
March
28th. Where can we get it?
On Amazon. And in the meantime, you can go to my website, HeidiMcNulty.co, and join the wait list. And then we'll send you an email when it launches.
Okay.
Don't worry, we won't spam you.
Do you know how much it's going to be? Is there even a thing to talk about? Or?
The book, so the first couple of days it will be 99 cents.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I believe it's going to $12 or $14.99.
Okay.
And then the electronic version, I think, will be like $9.99. So not
so
expensive.
Pocket change, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. definitely, I want it to be affordable. I want it to be something that everyone can get. And really my main goal with it is just to help people change their life.
Nice.
It's like a combo at Wendy's, and you hit that 2 to 3 times a day. Don't lie.
How's the gym? Before we go, how's the gym?
Man, it's growing.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's super cool. We have a great community right now, and just it's cool.
Yeah.
The thing I love about the gym is it's such a happy, healthy place. I always hated going to the gym because, especially in Utah, like you wear a sports bra to the gym, everyone's staring at you, and it's like there's mirrors everywhere. It's so awkward. Whereas like our gym, there's no mirrors, there's no competition. Everyone's there to cheer each other on. Rob often starts or ends the workout with like, hey, how did your weekend go? What can we do to help support you this week? Everyone goes around and shares like what they're struggling with or what they need help with, and everyone supports everyone. It's just a very supportive, positive environment, and that's what, like, I'm not a gym rat, and I go every morning at 5:30.
Yeah.
So what times are you there?
I'm there. I train at 5:30 a.m. and then I coach. I do privates through the day, but then I coach the 5 p.m. So we have 5:30 a.m. group. And then we have a 5 p.m. adult and youth. So we have a big
Separate
caged
teachers.
area.
Yeah.
So 2 coaches are there. Big CrossFit style side, and then caged wrestling, padded wall area for martial arts. So parents can, instead of dropping your kid off or sitting outside wasting time, you can go in and get your workout separately coached from your kid. They're doing something active. You're doing it together, but not. You don't have to be in charge of them.
Yeah.
And then you can leave. And then 6 p.m., we do like MMA. So, and then Monday through Friday for the 5:30. And then sometimes my partner, he's training, or he's fighting for the 145 AMI belt
Saturday.
March 16th. So he's been in fight camp. So we're a little toned back, but we're just growing as the community needs it. And we'll open up more.
Yeah, we're going to have to open a 6:30 class and a 6 p.m. class. We're going to have to open some more classes pretty soon.
So if you build it, they will come. Philosophy is not a fitness thing, you know. People, it's just something they don't need, and really, I think they're buying the community
They don't
and the coaches. So super cool. We're in West Jordan, and it's been really cool. We're like, you know, mental health first, and everything else will come when people are feeling good and confident and supported.
Yeah,
it's like we don't care about your PR; that'll come. You know, so that's what you look like is just a benefit of consistency and showing up, you know, so.
I like it. You guys are a good team.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like you guys like show that from the get-go.
Yeah.
You
I
guys,
appreciate that.
you guys
We're
are like
super
in
lucky.
the same page. You guys know exactly what to take on, what the other one takes on.
We always
I like
joke
it.
the world would be such a better place if everyone had a marriage like ours.
Just
Like, we're super fortunate.
Yeah, we have very similar passions, but different lanes. Like, I don't try and she does well what I don't, and I do well what she doesn't, and we know when to shut up and move out of the way.
Yeah.
You know, so just, super fortunate.
Yeah.
And to think that you like gays.
Right?
I'm just kidding. Okay, so here's your camera. Tell everybody where they can find you, all the socials, the gym. I mean, I guess you already told them, but the book, everything.
So I'm on Instagram, Heidi McNulty, and Facebook as well. And then on my website is HeidiMcNulty.co, and that has several different pages to all the different companies I'm a part of, as well as the wait list for the book.
And I'm Rob Eastman, also known as the Tattooed Life Coach. You can go onto my Instagram, Tattooed Life Coach, and the number 8. There's a link tree that goes to all my stuff, my book, our other companies. We're 100% centered around mental health. Do a lot of youth speaking, podcast, bunch of different things. And Rob Eastman on Facebook. So all this social media stuff is hard to keep up. But
Yeah, and he has a couple different websites, so just go to his link tree.
I can only imagine.
And Warrior in the Garden. If you
right.
want a banging memoir, and it's very vulnerable, and I think it's a lot of people's story at some point. If you're not living what I lived, you're watching people do it. So it's a good way to know that you're not alone, and most people struggle. I think the majority does, but people just keep those masks and lie and want to and be what they think is strong is holding on to things until till we break. And
Till
my
they
book's
break.
about my struggles and my success and some resources to help you find your way.
What about that one podcast you used to have?
I put that on the side for a minute. I was just looking at it, and I haven't done it for I think 2 years, and
Oh wow.
still got it's small, about 124 downloads this week.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start that back up, but it'll be it takes a village because our new company's called the Village Effect. So
Nice.
it's a kind of a consulting resource for families who need some
Consulting
support.
McNulty, dude. Right there.
Yes, yes. So we wanted to change the way that people view therapy. Like, it doesn't have to be done on a leather couch. So we've got some cool things and some. We're excited. Parenting booklets coming out, and it'll be good.
Parenting book coming out too?
Yeah, it's really awesome.
Is it both of you?
Yeah, we're a
it's
team.
the Village Effect. It's one of our companies. The parenting workbook is like a guide to having a better relationship with your kid, where it's open and honest and
Nice.
sharing your feels, letting them share their feels, and
Nice.
having vulnerable conversations.
Guidelines and boundaries and just some of the stuff most people weren't taught. It's like, do as I say, not as I do. This is what you do. This is what you do. And it just has panned out. The data is out, and that did not work well.
Have you ever, side note, have you ever heard of Day One?
One day or day one.
Day
that,
One.
That thing.
The
guy that wrote that.
WON, Day One.
Oh no!
So it's a group of people that are for the most part they're being in prison.
Okay.
And they after the experiences and everything, they go out and they dedicate themselves of speaking to the youth and the schools.
Super cool.
Yeah, I had them here a couple weeks ago.
Are they local?
Yeah,
I'll have to link up with them.
yeah, they're very nice. A good group of people, and I had Solo and Mesa, and I enjoyed it a lot, and they seem like they have a good head on their shoulders, and they're doing the right thing.
That's
Results
awesome.
for the youth, so
Yeah.
it was kind of cool.
Awesome.
I was gonna ask
Right
you
up
if
our
you-
alley.
Yeah, yeah. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that all?
man.
All the
Thank you
socials.
so
All the
much.
socials.
Yeah, those
Thank
two.
you.
I think we have some TikToks, but it's all the same. It's like,
You can catch this show at How Did They Get So Good on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. You can catch me and Severa on Instagram, Angel Severa on Facebook. That's my last name, Cervera. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank
This is
you.
your house.
Thank you.
Anytime, whenever,
you.
just let me know. We'll make it happen.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And make sure you keep that. Okay? Until next time, this has been How Did It Get So Good? Thank you.